Brandy is a passionate yet no-nonsense woman who is going to tell you exactly how she feels and when she feels it.
Fabulous human being overall.
And that's who Brandy is. Brandy is someone who is there willing to help you and guide you through whatever it is you might need.
She helps you to reconsider your preconceived ideas or reconsider new ways to approach a topic. You don't need people in life to agree with you on anything or everything. What you really need is someone to keep it real, and she does that exactly.
When she don't even know, I feel like when I make my first million, I owe her a lot of money.
This season of Brandy Was Here, the podcast is sponsored in part by Blood of a King Clothing, a clothing line focused on bringing out the best within you. Blood of a King Clothing is a motivational clothing line that is helping you find the greatness within. You can shop Blood of a King Clothing at bloodofakingclothing.myshopify.com. TBM Skincare provides the tools that help women love what they see when they look in the mirror. With the full line of plant-based products, we invite women to reclaim their time by adopting a self-care routine that invites luxury into their homes. The company began making small batches of natural skincare in 2015 after founder Brandy Vernado crafted the recipe to cure her adult acne. In doing so, she also found the confidence to pursue her dreams of being a full-time entrepreneur. Since its inception, TBM Skin has made luxury skincare accessible to everyday people and is committed to helping communities rebuild their sense of pride and their unique identity. You can shop TBM Skincare at www.tbmskin.
Another episode of Brandy Was Here, the podcast, and I'm your host, Brandy. I am excited about this episode, and I'm excited for a few different reasons. One, I don't know if I ever told y'all this on the podcast or on my Instagram or wherever you have contacted me or found me out here in the internets, the interwebs. But I have always secretly thought that I was like either psychic or like intuitive or whatever. Like, and if I wasn't, I feel like I wanted to be. Like growing up watching shows like Sabrina the Teenage Witch, like I got really into That's So Raven. Like I just always wanted to be like Miss Cleo, but like really well respected and like not made fun of in that way. Because I feel like I see and know the future. Like I just know things that I have no real reason for knowing. I just have that inner knowing. And when I would tell people this when I was younger, they always thought that was really weird. But I thought it was really cool. Like I wanted to be able to communicate with dead people. I think you guys know my father died when I was really young, and right after he died, he came to me in a dream. But it scared me. And I think because it scared me and I reacted the way that I reacted to it, like he never came back. And so my whole life I've been trying to like, okay, like how do I get this thing back? Like, you know, they had that movie, it's like I see dead people. I don't see them, but I talk to them like I be hearing voices and stuff. Like, not to freak y'all out, but I mean, it's a gift. It's a gift and I got it. That's what I'm saying to y'all. I haven't really developed those skills. But over the past few years, I have been tapping more into tarot cards and oracle cards and really getting into um, establishing my divine channel, right, with my ancestors and my guides. So today I'm really excited to talk to our guest. She is just like a ray of sunshine. And if you are out here on Instagram and or TikTok, you have probably seen her videos because she just brings really good energy and spirit, and people just share her videos all around. She is a tarot reader, a spiritual coach, intuitive, a divine guide. I'm not sure exactly what to call her, but she is going to help us get right and talk about the tarot, the spirits, the all the woo woo stuff that people are into, astrology and things like that. Because I know like y'all be out here like, oh, what's your sun, moon, rising? Some of y'all really don't know what that is, but on your spiritual journey, these things are tools to help you better understand yourself. I am really into human design. I'm really into astrology. I'm really into numerology. I got a few book recommendations I'm going to drop in the chat notes, transcript, I don't know what you call it, the part that you can read when you see this podcast. I'm gonna drop it in there so that y'all could like be up on what I'm reading, because how I got into this, as I was saying, when I was younger, it scared people for me to talk about this, especially because I grew up really religious. So I really relied on books to explain to me these things that were innate and natural to me. And then as I became an adult, I was able to seek out people who were a part of the things that I wanted to learn about and who shared these things in common with me. So y'all are going to love her. Like I said, she has really good energy. Her name is Drea Michelle. And when you see her in a few seconds, because I'm going to stop talking and get into this interview that I did, you will recognize and understand why I say she is a ray of sunshine. We talk about astrology. We talk about the ups and downs of the spiritual journey. We talk about how to get to the goal of self love and so much more. So, like I said, I know you're going to enjoy this. Usually I say take notes, but this time sit back, relax, and enjoy. Just really take in what is being said. And if you need to listen to this more than once, please do. Also, y'all, as you can see, and this is just a quick plug, because you see I'm holding my microphone, right? I broke my stand, and I need a new one. And because y'all love me, y'all love this podcast, support your sister, friend, okay? I'll put my Cash App, my Venmo, in the show notes so that if you want to support me upgrading and replacing my equipment, you can. We love support here on the podcast, 100%. So please do that.
All right, thank you so much for being here on the podcast. I want you to go ahead and introduce yourself. Just tell people who you are and what is it that you do.
All right. I am Drea Michelle. I am the sun goddess, as you see on social media. I am a divinity coach and a tarot reader, and I just specialize in helping people through their trauma and just coming into their confidence and their self-esteem. And yeah, that's me.
Oh my God. So people listening right now are going to get so excited because that's what we do here on the podcast.
I love that.
Yes. So we are going to go into some quick fire questions. Okay. You are not going to be timed, but the idea is that you answer these questions just off the top of your head. Okay. Don't think too much about them. So are you ready?
I am.
All right. Okay. Question number 1. What is the best thing going on in your life right now?
My relationship. My romantic relationship is pretty great. I'm pretty excited about it. So let's say that.
Yes. Yeah. Name a song that uplifts your spirit.
Into Orbit. I think it's Tiana Major, or if it's not Tiana Major, it's Alex Isley. I'm not sure.
Okay, what is your definition of faith?
Trust. Trusting what's going on, trusting what's not going on, just trust.
What's the one thing you lean on when life gets hard?
Gospel music, but also affirmations. I feel like both of those things can pull me out of anything.
All right, finish the sentence. One thing I believe I do well is
show up in my authenticity. I'm gonna be me wherever I'm at. So I appreciate that about myself. Yeah.
Okay. Name a book that has helped you on your journey.
All About Love, Bell Hooks, period. Immediately. Immediately.
I'm staring at that book on my shelf right now. I've read it. I mean, that's my book.
You can read that every year and get something different.
Okay. What single thing would you like to make absolutely certain that you do during your lifetime?
Travel a lot. Like a lot. I want to see all the things, all the places, all the people, all the food.
Yes, traveling. Where's the last place you traveled to?
Brazil. In 2021. That was my last vacation too. But I was there for a month. Salvador, Brazil. Best thing that's ever happened to me. Amazing. Highly recommend.
All right. I hope you all are listening. Get your travel itineraries together. Book it, put it on. Please. I know you have a trip coming up, a retreat coming up. We're going to talk about that too. So, I hope they save some money after Beyonce to get to what you got going on. Yes. So I want to talk about, this podcast is all about helping people along on their journey. And this season in particular is about helping people on their spiritual journey. So you said that you were a divinity coach, you're a tarot reader. How did you get into that and get started on that journey?
I've always grown up in a very, I would say, spiritual family. I grew up Christian, of course, AME, shout
Mm.
out. But I also, I'm West African. My father is from Ivory Coast, and they do practice African spirituality. So I always knew a little bit of that, knew spirit had power. But then when I was going through a tough time, I had to kind of look for that power. And that's when I started really getting on my journey. That was probably before the pandemic, about a year before the pandemic. And since then, it's just grown. I went to India, and that helped me a lot too. And then when I came back, I really started to cultivate it. But yeah.
Mm.
Mhm.
So how did you make that transition? Because I feel like, myself included, but a
Yeah.
lot of my listeners, we did grow up in the church.
Right.
We have, we feel like, we have this connection
Mm.
to our religious upbringing.
Yes.
But then we go through life and we grow up and we start to kind of, I don't want to say veer off, but we start to experience God and spirituality in a different
Yes.
way. And some of us, we get stuck because now we don't know what to do. We don't
Exactly.
know how to resolve
Yeah.
these things that are happening. Like, okay, I grew up this way, but now I'm experiencing this. Do they work together? How do
Yeah.
they make sense? So what made that transition easier for you?
For sure. I feel like what helped me was just I read a lot, and that was helping me understand that God was not so rigid. And when I was in college, I actually took a bunch of philosophy classes that helped me to understand that as well. But under just coming to the truth that if God is everything, and if God flows through everything and is created everything, all of these tools, whether it's astrology, tarot, oracle, breath work, meditation, all of those are tools just to connect back to that source, right? So there's no problem in dipping into those other pots in order to strengthen your connection because it's a personal connection at the end of the day. So if it helps you get there, if it helps you feel more aligned, if it helps your mental health, I don't think there's anything that God would be mad about that. If it brings you to peace, that's all God wants for us anyway. So that's what helped me. I didn't feel like I had to veer off. I felt like I was adding on to what I was already given as a child. Does that make sense?
That does make
Okay.
sense. Did this cause any kind of conflict in your life, like with your parents? Were they, asking a bunch of questions like, why aren't you going to church? What are those cards for?
Right. My parents, they had difficulty with it for sure. And I think they just didn't understand because I was in tech, so I was doing really well with that. My career was growing, but I just didn't feel called to it anymore. And so one day I just up and stopped and started doing this full time. And they were like, "Girl, like what you got going on? Are you sure?" And there was a lot of confusion with it, but over time, I think that they've come to their own version of acceptance of it. I think my mom more than my dad probably, but I found that I had to live for me and not what I had been taught, and that's kind of what's kept me going for sure.
Mm. I love that. I think, that really starts as a mindset, right?
Yes.
Like once you know like who you
Mm,
are and you're able to really stand in that, when you start making life changes, you don't really concern yourself with explaining so much to everyone
yes.
else, right? Like you just want to walk your line
Mm,
and follow your heart and what you're doing. I think that's important.
exactly. I love that.
Getting into the work that you
Yes.
do, right? You said that you read a lot, you did some traveling,
Mm,
um, was there any kind of training that you went through in order to have the knowledge that you have now and to be able to, share it and run this business?
yes. So I really have to give kudos to my college background. I didn't think I was gonna, a lot of people get their degree and don't necessarily use it. The major I had
Mm-hmm.
in the courses I took really have helped me. And even the jobs I had that had nothing to do with my spiritual work, helped me to, orient what I do now. But the business courses I took, the philosophy courses I took, and me being a sociology major, understanding people, understanding that there are a million different theories and ways to think and not being so stuck and structured on one definitely helped me having an open mind with my business. But as far as training, I think like life was my training, honestly. I was just kind of going with it. I was letting life teach me. I was really open and deep during the pandemic. I had so much time to meditate, so much time to just sit with spirit, and that opened up a lot for me. But I think there's a lot of training I'd like to do, when I'm furthering my education and getting deeper into my walk. But life does enough, really. If you're ever hesitating, life
Oh,
will give you what
yes.
you need.
What would you say is the toughest lesson that life has taught you thus far?
Um, to listen to yourself. I think a lot of times we grow up knowing that we have to listen to parents, listen to teachers, listen to everybody else. I don't think I was ever necessarily taught to listen to me. And so growing, I would constantly find myself in a situation and be like, God, why this happened? Universe, why this happened? Ancestors, how you let that happen to me? And I always had to come back to the truth and the the accountability work of, well, you knew something was off. You knew this wasn't in alignment and you did it anyway. You walked in that anyway. And so I kept getting that hard lesson upside my head until I just started realizing I have to listen to my intuition 1000% of the time, because it's always going to steer me in the right direction, because it's me speaking through me. So I think listening, because, we all a little stubborn, a little hard headed, but getting through that has definitely helped for sure.
Yes, yes. I think that's so hard for people to do. People talk about like seeing the red flags and thinking it was a carnival, or I
Right.
knew something was up, but I felt compelled to go through it anyway. And I think one thing that trips a lot of people up is loyalty, right?
Yes.
Like we're so loyal to the people that we love and the people that are in our lives, even when our intuition is screaming at
Yes.
us, we will ignore that
Mm-hmm.
to maintain friendships, to maintain
Yes.
relationships, all in the spirit of being
Right.
loyal. What do you think is a common mistake that people make when it comes to their intuition, other than just blatantly ignoring it?
Just to even piggyback off of what you said, like, I think the biggest mistake people make is forgetting that your duty is to yourself. And I know that they said it, I think it was Mulan, my duty is to my heart, but that's really what it is. Like, we get so caught up in serving the world, serving the people who raised us, serving the people that we're in relationships with, that we forget that it's us first. It was us that was with us when we came into this realm, and it's going to be us when we leave it. And you have to take care of you. You have to put you first. You not being the priority makes everything else more diluted, makes everything else you're not going to have the same energy level. So I think that's the biggest mistake when it comes to intuition. But I would also say not doing the work of being able to differentiate anxiety and intuition, because they both speak.
Ooh.
But intuition is much quieter. You know what I'm saying? She don't repeat herself a whole bunch. But anxiety is that loud, glaring, kind of red alarm that's firing off in your head. Learning how to move between the two and kind of calm that anxiety down so you can hear more. I feel like that's the big mistake for sure.
Yes, yes. I like to think of intuition. Intuition is like like you said, it is that quiet voice, but it's the warning that comes before anything else makes sense,
Yes.
right? This is Noah building the ark and no one understanding why. That anxiety is when you see the clouds and the rain coming. Right? That's when you're like, "Oh, now I'm supposed to be doing this. What do I do?" Like you're stressing about it at that
Yes.
point. But that intuition, it'll come and you're thinking like, "What? This doesn't make
Yep.
sense." I don't know. I'm not even paying attention. I'm going about my life. And that's the thing that you really need to pay attention to.
I agree.
Yeah, I
I love that
love
Noah's
that.
Ark. That was good.
Yeah, no, Noah was a
Right.
trailblazer for us. But a lot of people don't take that story too seriously, or don't take the gift that story is
Absolutely.
about how we can prepare for what's to come. And I think that's important. In working with people, right? You say you're a divinity coach. What do you think is the biggest barrier for people to get to that point where they are in alignment, they are walking in their truth, they are confident in who they are? Because I think, I would say all of us virtually, that's what we want. That's what people constantly talk about. That's the thing that seems like elusive to us, even though we're constantly working towards it. So we do all these things, we get these jobs, we get in these relationships, we add all these things, but it's like for whatever reason we're not getting there. So what do you think is that barrier, the biggest barrier?
I think one of the biggest barriers is I think it's two things, right? I think it's learning to trust yourself. Like, first and foremost, I think people's lack of trust in themselves will have them running around living a life that's not theirs, because they don't trust that intuition that we just talked about. So just learning how to trust yourself and trust what you know and trust what you love and trust what you're good at. But I would also say, listening to other people's voices ahead of their own is a big thing. I know a lot of people that will act a certain way, dress a certain way, go to certain jobs just because of what other people have told them. And then they have all these things, they, have all these achievements, but nothing hits. Nothing has fulfilled them. Nothing has felt right. And it was because they were living somebody else's dream, somebody else's excitement,
Yes.
somebody else's manifestation. I think it's a lot about trusting what you know to be yours, trusting what you know you've been blessed with, and then also just listening to what you know you love. As soon as you step out of that, everything goes out of alignment, and nothing really resonates anymore. So I definitely think working with people, it's trust. Right, really, that's the deepest part for sure.
Yes. And so how do you get people to trust themselves? What does trust even look
Right.
like?
I see that trusting yourself requires a lot of, I mean, in the beginning stages at least, a good amount of just being comfortable being in solitude, because you can't trust yourself if you can't hear yourself. So just being willing and being comfortable, walking away from some relationships, not because you've outgrown, not because anybody is not in alignment anymore, just so you can get really close and comfortable to you. But I would also say, a big part of what trust looks like. It looks like you waking up in the rising, waking up in the morning and knowing, like, I feel this way, I'm going to move on that. Or if I'm feeling a little low, I trust what my body is telling me. Let me go do these affirmations or eat this food, so I know that I'm replenishing and, getting myself out of whatever funk I might have woke up into. And it's just really allowing yourself, allowing your body, allowing your feelings to help move you throughout life, so you're not working against yourself, but you're working with yourself. I think those are the biggest things that, like, trusting yourself gives you back to you. Yeah.
That's important. Something you said earlier, you talked about, doing a lot of meditation during COVID. And I think during COVID is where I saw a lot of people's anxieties rise because they were forced to be alone with themselves. And that can be scary if you have, spent a lot of your life putting on a mask to perform for other people, to show up for other people, and now you're just stuck
For
sitting
sure.
with yourself and being forced to see yourself for who you are and as you are. That can be scary if you're not ready for that, because now what do you do with this new information, right? That's why I tell people a lot, when I'm talking to people, when I'm coaching people are somewhat aware, of their issues or what they're doing. I was like, okay, so what do we do with that information now? Right? How do you then act on that? Are you going to trust yourself? You're locked in, you're hearing your intuition. Are you going to move forward on that thing? Or are you going to, ask 10 people and get their approval?
Exactly. And what I think is even cool,
Which
like
happens
out
a
of
lot.
COVID, like we were talking about, everyone's mask had to kind of fall because you were in that solitude. It kind of forced you into that work. What I think is cool now is, now that COVID is kind of easing up and people are coming back out of that hermit mode, I think a lot of people are showing up a lot more authentically. We're seeing an influx of businesses, people speaking up, amazing podcasts like this, like, that are growing, that are expanding. And these platforms, people want to feed into and watch and, tap into, because they aren't feeling so masked and they are living for themselves again. So I think there's a massive influx of that I love, that has come from COVID, which was such a difficult time. But now people are showing up and moving and excited about what's to come. So I love that part of it.
Yeah, and I think it is too, I used to be a teacher and I work with young people a lot. And I will always say, for young people, exposure is the biggest thing, because, we present certain ideas to young people. There's that question, what do you want to be when you grow up? And we give them like three choices, right? Doctor, doctor, lawyer, police officer, firefighter, whatever. And they think, okay, that's all there is. But when you start exposing them that there are other people that do other things, that there are people that have taken different paths in life, that everyone doesn't go to college and they turn out all right, right? Or that everyone's not doing this thing and they turn out all right. Kids start to place things and say, oh, I've always thought that I wanted to do this, but I didn't know anyone that did it. I never saw anyone do it. I didn't know it was possible. And now, we see all these things that are happening that are possible. Like, people are making a full-time income off of YouTube, or being an influencer, or helping people grow their social media, right? Like, all of these things, these skills that, we typically, or in the past, we wouldn't have seen as skills or things that are
Yes.
of value. They're coming out. And I think that allows people to show up as more of
Definitely.
themselves because they're seeing other people do
Yeah.
the
You
same
can be
thing.
anything. You can grow into anything. You can choose yourself, just choose what works with you. I love that. I absolutely agree.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to talk more about this spiritual journey of yours and the work
Yeah.
that you do. So, as a
Mm,
divinity coach, what does that mean
right.
exactly? What is it that you are helping
Yeah,
people to
so
do?
what I believe with the divinity coach is like knowing that we are children of God or pieces of source. You have that energy within you to manifest anything, release anything, and create and write your own timeline, write your own story. Because I think so often we hand the pen, hand the pencil to somebody else to write for us or to society.
Mm,
And it's giving you the power back to choose what works for you, do any job that aligns with you, be in a relationship with the people that really resonate with you. It's giving people their power back so that they can do the work that either I'm doing or
mm,
that anyone else is doing. Like, you don't need to be searching for the answers outside of you when you know that your divinity is on fire. It's growing, it's expanding. So I think it's just people giving people their autonomy back, giving people their story back outside
mm,
of their trauma. And that's why I work heavily with trauma too, because trauma will write your story for you. What you've been through will write your story for you and
mm,
tell you that you need to be smaller or you need to act this way or be this way. It's just getting out of all those confines, getting out of all those constructs. And so that's a big part of what I do, is just really working with people through readings, but it's a lot through conversation. It's very therapeutic. It's a lot through
mm,
just let's identify where things went wrong so then we can rectify that situation. It's a lot of shadow work, but it's just
mm,
alignment work. It's you getting you back to who you once were, because when you envision that 6-year-old version of you, they were fearless. You know what I'm saying? They were vibrant, they were excited,
mm,
they were rejuvenated every day about life and about what they got to do. Finding a healthy version of that in your adult life is massive and it's amazing. So it's a lot
mm,
of inner child work too, but everything that I walk my clients through is something I walked myself through. You know what I'm saying? To find what worked with
mm,
me and to live my life for me. So just being able to share that and be a part of another person's healing journey has been so rewarding for me. So I absolutely love what I do.
mm.
Hmm.
Mm. Can you talk a little bit now? Some people who might be listening to this, they may have heard
Right.
about shadow work, inner child work, but they don't really know what that is.
I
Can you break that
can.
down for us?
So shadow work, first of all, you have to define shadow, right? It's those pieces and parts of you that you put away because they weren't acceptable, because they were wrong. So if you were constantly told you were too talkative, if you were constantly told that you didn't look how you were supposed to,
Mm,
if you were constantly told or taught that, you're always going to be this way, or you're not going to have money, or you're not going to have this, those things can become subconscious truths in your shadow. So they kind of walk behind you, you carry them around, and without you even realizing it, they make decisions for you. So shadow work is bringing all that to the light.
mm,
You know what I'm saying? It's accepting it. It's learning that not all of that is yours to carry. It's a lot of taking baggage off that was never yours. And just realizing that, yes, that has hurt me. Yes, that was a painful experience, but I don't have to let it dictate my present moment. So that's what shadow work is. But inner child work, I think it's the simplest type of work. I think it's just going back to what always made sense for you. If you always love to draw, if you always love to sing, if
mm,
you always love to be outdoors, getting back to that seems so hard and so lofty, but you just find the version of it that works for you in this day and time, that resonates with you in this day and time. So inner child work is going back to that wounded child at times that were, hurt or were told really painful things, and just working with them, talking with them, loving them back to light. So both of those things are really close to me, because with my trauma and what I went through, it's helped me kind of get my life back. So if I can give that gift to others, that's the best thing. Hmm.
I love that. I love that. I think, when I think about like my upbringing and my inner child, one way that I nurture my inner child as an adult is that
Yeah,
I say no. Because when I was younger, people talk about, the terrible twos and kids say no and they have this opinion. I was
for
never
sure.
allowed to say no, right? If there was dinner that I didn't want to eat, I
Hmm.
just had to eat it. Or somewhere I really didn't want to go,
Right.
I just had to go. Or my birthday party was coming, I'm like, oh, I want
Hmm.
this. And I got something different. It was like this. You take what you're given, right? And so when things come up in my adult life that I don't like or I just really don't want to do, I say no. And I don't feel guilty about it. At first I felt really guilty. I felt really bad. Like if someone invited me somewhere and I'm like, oh, I really don't want to do that, or I don't have time to do it, or I can't do that, and I had to say no, I would say no, and then I would ghost people. I would hide because I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna be mad at me. They're gonna think I'm not their friend. Like all of these things I'm making up in my head. So I would say no, and I would put my phone on do not disturb, and I would stay in the house all weekend because I couldn't go out on Friday night. So now I just can't go out the whole weekend because if somebody sees me, then they're gonna say something, and now I gotta explain. And I just went through this whole thing, and now I'm just like, somebody invites me somewhere. Oh, you know what? I think
you
I'll
reclaiming
pass.
your voice.
Oh,
I
that's
love
going on.
that.
You know
You
what? I don't
reclaiming
want to
your
go.
voice. You reclaiming your boundaries. You reclaiming, like, you know what? No, I need this time for me, and I'm not going to feel bad about it. I love that. That's everything.
Right. And giving my permission, giving myself permission to say no, like not really waiting on anybody to make the decision for me. And I think that's huge. And so, people who are listening to this, I would encourage you to just go back. We've all had, different kind of experiences in our childhood. Even if you feel like it's traumatic, try to go back to a time where there was something that you really wanted to do that you really didn't get to fulfill fully, or something that you never got to fulfill. I was talking to a friend the other day, and somehow we started talking about dance. She's like, I always wanted to be a ballerina.
Exactly.
Take a dance class. Go do it. Right? Just go do it. There's no age limit. Just find a class and go and do it. So if you're listening right now, I would encourage you to get in touch with your inner child somehow, some way. Even if that's chasing an ice cream truck down the street. If they still do that. I ain't seen an ice cream truck in I don't know how long. But if where you live they have an ice cream
get your
truck,
little 50 cents and go get you an ice pop. Something real cute.
Get your money. It might be a little more than 50 cents now.
Maybe $2.
Inflation, girl. You're gonna need a couple dollars. Bring some dollars. Don't bring no change, but make it happen. What would you say? So we're talking about this inner child work. What's something that in the work that you do has come up a lot with people that they're struggling to get over, either through their shadow work or that inner child healing?
It's a lot of what you said with learning how to say no, but I would say the most interesting thing that I actually didn't expect when coming into this work is body image. A lot of people grew up with people having very strong opinions about how they dressed, how their body looked, how their face looked. And then when they come into their adulthood, feeling like they're constantly less than, or they don't look how others, and that heavy comparison and competition energy kind of really getting to them and really taking a toll on them. So getting them out of the idea that there's one perfect body, one perfect image, one perfect look is a difficult thing. It's more difficult than you think, because then it's reinforced by like social media, or being on Instagram, or as many of us are on TikTok. And so just working through that, because it's something you have to constantly work on. You have to constantly affirm, and knowing that you're beautiful inside and out, that you're worthy. I would say worthiness and self-image are really, really big things for people that have, caused a lot of confidence issues. So yeah, I would say those are two big things.
Yeah, I think worthiness is a big thing, because so much of the time, going back to Bell Hooks All About Love, when we learn love, we learn it from an external source. When we first experience love, right? We're relying on it, depending on our parents, guardians, to show us what this love is. And then it takes a while for us to learn and understand what self-love is, and what that really looks like, and how it's not really tied to affections. Like people talk all the time about love languages and this and that. Yeah, that's part of it, but there's a bigger part that's not like giving yourself gifts or someone taking you out or whatever, right? And so typically we learn that through trial and error. Right? Something, we do stuff and then we realize, okay, I don't like how that feels. That's not working. This doesn't feel right or feel good to me. Let me try something else. Let me figure out something else. So what is one way you think that, people can get to that self-love part a little quicker?
How can we get to the self-love part? That's a good question. How can we get to the self-love part a little quicker? I would say the inner child work is essential, because that immediately kind of recenters you on, putting yourself first, you saying no, you setting those boundaries. But I would even just say boundaries is an amazing way. Like, we talk about self-love as like, let's take ourselves out like the love languages, but I would say boundaries is one of the strongest ways to show your self-love. And even boundaries within yourself. I won't say that about myself anymore. I'm no longer going to say these mean things to me. Or I'm no longer going to hang out with that friend that always makes me feel less than. Like, those types of boundaries. Or I'm not going to talk to that parent that just doesn't seem to ever want to accept me. Those types of boundaries opens you up to such a massive level and like upgrade in self-love, because there's nothing more powerful than someone standing up for you. And when you're standing up for you, when you're the one like, no, I'm serious about you, I'm not going to do that. Because sometimes we look for that in other people. We want our romantic partner to be kind of that person for us. We want our parents. But when we are that, it makes you kind of invincible. And when we talk about divinity, that's the most powerful divinity you can have. So boundaries will get you there.
My listeners know boundaries. That's my favorite word. I will put up a boundary. I love what you said about setting boundaries with ourselves, especially about our language, our inner voice. When I started, I started sharing on social media probably a year ago, like affirmations that I was saying, and a lot of people messaged me and said, affirmations don't work. And I say, yeah, when you say affirmation, when you say I am loved, I feel safe, and your inner voice is negative, and it says, no, you're not. No, you're not. Right? You have to work on changing that inner voice to become more positive. So when you first start saying affirmations, if you come from a negative state of mind, it's not going to feel right. You're going to feel like it's not working. You have to train yourself and set a boundary with yourself to say, when these negative thoughts come up, when that negative image, when I find myself comparing myself to how she looks or he looks, I'm going to switch it and do something different. You really have to train yourself.
And it's not going to feel right the first couple times you do it. That's what I get. Like, my clients be frustrating me with that. Like, it's not going to hit the first time. You have to give it a chance. Like, it's like any new thing. Give it at least a week. Do it in the morning and at night. You're going to feel it. Eventually, you're going to start to hear it. And even, I think this is a way that helps people. If I am doesn't resonate, say you are. Like, you are beautiful, and do those in the mirror, or just say them to yourself. Because if you've never heard those growing up, that might be the thing you need to reprogram you. Because that's what affirmations do. They reprogram that negative system that you've just adopted as yours. Right. So if you're able to, whatever works for you, but you got to give it time, friends. You know what I'm saying? You got to give it a chance.
Yes.
Right.
No, people want it
that instant
right
gratification.
Now. Right. As soon as they decide, okay, I'm doing affirmations, by the time I get to the end of this page,
I need to see something.
I need to see a change. I need to see a change. I love that. I want to talk about what you're currently doing, like what's going on in your career, in your life that you are.
So I'm really excited about a lot of things. So of course we have the retreat, the Return to Your Inner Goddess retreat. This will be the second one. I had it last year. It was amazing, changed my life, changed a lot of people's lives, and it was just so fun to embark on that journey. But to bring it back, so the Return to Your Inner Goddess retreat is for all divine feminines. It is just for the divine feminines right now, but it's a space for you to do all of the work that we've been talking about with people of like minds, with other, sisterhood, and just being in a safe space with someone cooking for you so you don't have any responsibilities, with other people taking care of your every need so that you just have time to be with you, work through the workshops, hang out, and just expand and just find that confidence, reignite that spark. So I love it. That is something that I'm excited about. But then also I'm going to be opening up mentorship in about April or May. So that'll be more of the coaching services, letting those be kind of on a subscription type of, cycle. But outside of that, just the expansion. I love how Spirit just kind of pops up with new ideas. So new things will come every day. But it's been really fun on this journey and just seeing how all the pivots move together.
I love that. So the retreat is happening when?
In Dallas, Texas.
In Dallas, Texas. Oh, it's gonna be hot,
we got a pool.
But it sounds like a good time. So often, people who listen to the podcast say, I want to change my life. I want to do all these things, but the friends that I have right now, they're not into that, or I don't really know anyone that's doing that. Listen, go to a retreat, get around the people who are trying to do the same things that you are, and learn from people who have already done them. Don't waste your time trying to convince your friends that this is what they should be doing. If you feel called to do it, to make a change, then this could be your event. Okay. Talk to me a little bit about mentorship, and could you explain, set up for the people, what an actual mentor role is? Because a lot of times I find that people, when they say they want a mentor, or even somebody who wants to be a mentor, they're thinking more like Devil Wears Prada, this is gonna be like a internship, you're just gonna tell me what to do, or now I got somebody I could just kind of hand things out to. What is a mentor relationship like? Or in your situation, what is that relationship
People
going
have
to
been
be like?
asking
What
for
can they
mentorship
expect?
from me for a long time, and the reason I hesitated for such a long time is exactly what you said. I didn't know what that dynamic would look like for me, and I've always been kind of like a round table type of person. I don't like to be at the head of the table. Let's all talk about this together. But how mentorship is going to look for me is, I'm not going to take a bunch of people for mentorship. My coaching services are open, but for mentorship with that type of work, when people want to learn kind of what I do, I want it to be more kind of just like a group service. Tell me how you're doing what you're doing right now. Tell me how you've been moving through your healing, and I'll tell you what I do. I'll tell you what's worked for me. It's going to be more of just an information share, and then of course they can watch me, they can see what I'm doing, see how I do it. But I wanted the mentorship to be more of just kind of a roundtable kind of conversation about how we can all grow. Because I think that anytime you think you are, you know, higher or better, is when that dynamic of Devil Wears Prada can come in. And that's never been me. I'm still on this journey actively. I'm still figuring out all the things with my business and how I've oriented it. So there's nothing perfect about what I do, but I love that. So just sharing and just being open. And so I really want it to be like 3 or 4 people that I'm really heavily mentoring, and whatever they need, I'm open. But then the coaching is a completely different story. But yeah, that's how it looks for me. Not divorce product at all. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So now people
Yes.
can know kind of what to expect. What advice or tools would you be willing to share with someone
Yeah.
who is on this journey kind of on their own, or they might just be getting started out, they might have read a book or two, they're trying to do something different in their life. What tools or resources might they use?
When you're just starting out, when you're just walking into, I think the most powerful thing that's, kind of that awesome beginner step is journaling, but journaling specifically to yourself. We've all kind of seen when you were younger, like that Dear Diary, but it's very much so like you're just kind of talking through your own thoughts. A lot of people, like you said, don't have the friendship groups or the community to be able to have those conversations that they've been needing to decompress, or to just talk about that epiphany they just had, or whatever they just learned in that book. But when you create that safe space within your journaling, get a cute journal too, so you feel compelled to write in it. But to just speak to yourself like that so candidly, and don't sugarcoat it. If you need to curse somebody out in the journal, do that. If you need to just be at one with yourself, if you need to cry with it, but creating that safe space where you're talking to you. You can even address it to myself. That's what I do. I'd be like, Drea, you will not believe what just happened. Exactly. And that
Yes, I do
that
the
opens
same
up
thing.
like you being your own best friend as well. That's a massive self-love thing for me as well. And if writing it down doesn't work, video journaling. Put your phone up and talk to yourself like you're just right here. You know what I'm saying? Like you're on a FaceTime with you. But outside of that, I know people don't want to hear it, but affirmations do work, friend. And that's a great way to start too. They do.
Yes, they
Mm-hmm.
do. Yes, I always tell people to record affirmations. Like, if it feels weird for you to say them one time, record them, put them on a
I love
playlist,
that.
when you on your way to work, when you exercising, whatever, and listen
Okay.
to them. That really helped me a lot get more comfortable
Yeah.
hearing my own voice, right? And also just to have it like that changed my inner voice because I have it on replay. Like when you walk around throughout the day and there's a song playing in your head, then I would hear my affirmations in my head, right? Like I would add it to my music playlist. So, I listen to some Beyonce, hear some Soulja Boy, and then I would hear myself, right? So it became normal for me to hear these things, right? It didn't seem odd. It stopped feeling weird. And then I just got more comfortable with doing them. But yes, affirmations work for people who are hesitant about journaling too. Like if you are not comfortable like writing to yourself openly yet, get a guided journal. Go online and find some journal prompts that you want to write about. It doesn't have to be the same thing every day. And once you get into a practice with that, then you'll feel more comfortable. You'll just run to your journal with
You'll be
things
excited
to say.
about
You won't
it.
need a prompt. Things will just come up, and you don't have to worry about anybody reading
Lock
it.
it up.
Keep it in a safe place. All that good stuff. This is for you. This is for you. And it really helps. My sort of last question for you is there something that you believe people right now should be doing to improve the quality of their life? What is that one thing that you think, okay, this makes a world of difference for everyone?
I think and this is something that I'm just now kind of really deepening my walk with, is breath work. Every emotion is, I don't want to say controlled, but dictated by your breath. When we get anxious, we start to have really short, shallow breaths. You know what I'm saying? When anger comes, we might have deeper but very, kind of fast breaths. So really working with your breath and starting to go, and there's amazing guided breath work meditations on YouTube as well, but just going deep and doing 4x4s, 4 counts in, holding for 4, letting it out for 4, just working with your breath, working with your connection. It will bring you back to yourself so quickly. So if we're having a little anxious moment, if we're needing to make a decision at work, if you're at school, whatever works for you, but that breath will bring you back, center you, and then make everything a lot more clear for you. So I think breath work is huge. But even if you're not open to that yet, just go outside. Get out of the recycled air of your house, and you need to go outside. You need to put your feet in some grass. That'll always get you right. But those two for sure.
Yes, I love that. Okay, I lied. I do have another question. Maybe 2 more. Yeah, because I wanted to talk about tarot. Yes, and so I had someone on Instagram ask me a question, which I thought was a good question. If I do not feel called, right? I do not feel like that tarot is my work, my area. Can I still do a reading for myself? Can I get a deck of cards and pull my own cards? And what does that experience look like?
I recommend everybody have some type of deck. I do. And it's because even if you don't feel called to the tarot, there are these amazing things called oracle decks. And they don't have that kind of tarot connotation where you have to know every card. They have the explanations most of the time on the card or a little booklet. But what that looks like when you're doing it, you could simply shuffle it and just pull the first card off the top. You could just watch what pops out, but it gives you a moment and a time to first, it's a type of meditation, but to just spend time with you and ask spirit and communicate in that way, because not everyone's ready to channel. I'm clairaudient, so I can channel just like this and just kind of go for it. But if you're not there yet, you can ask your guides and ancestors and be right there, talking with them, maybe light a candle, make it a really, beautiful situation for yourself, and ask whatever you've been needing. Like, what should I focus on this week? What do I need to work through right now? And it helps you get those messages if you're not ready or not hearing God as clearly as you'd like to. But not everybody feels called to it. I understand. But at least one oracle deck that you found on Amazon that looked pretty to you, it's going to hit. It's going to do what you need to do. So I highly recommend everybody go get you one.
Yeah. And then how often should I be doing a reading? Is this like a daily practice? Should I go to someone maybe like every couple of weeks or every new moon and get a reading? Like how often should I
when
do
we're
this?
talking about doing a reading for yourself, you can read at one point I was reading myself every other day. I don't need that now because I do kind of get my messages and whatever, but I know that there's self-care decks where if you pull every day, what self-care do I need to do today? That's something you absolutely should and could do every day. It depends on which Oracle decks you get. That's why I said there's all these options, friend. So I highly recommend people looking into that. But I would say don't overread yourself either, or don't watch too many, because I know YouTube's a big place where other people watch readings as well. You don't want to rely so much on other people's channel before you rely on your own. And that's a big thing. Some people do get overread. So I would say getting a reading from another person, or even watching it on YouTube, maybe once or twice a month, and keep it at that. And then if you're wanting an actual session with the person, once a month. You don't need anything more than that, because you have you. Again, the divinity's here. You need to listen to you. But even once a year is fine. I have a lot of clients just once a year. They hit me up at the new year. Boom, we're good to go. But it's whatever you feel called to. But if you're having a tough time, every day is not a problem.
Good to know. And I like what you said too. All of these things, all of these tools are about opening up your own channel and communication line between the divine, right? Not relying on someone to be your interpreter. You have to learn at some point how to make sense of these things yourself. And that's what this is about, opening yourself up so you can have clear communication with spirit. That's important. Oh, I love this. Is there anything that I did not ask you that you want to share?
Not necessarily. Just trust what you know about yourselves already. Trust what you've prayed for. Trust your manifestations. To everybody that's listening, trust what you know God has for you. Because the moment that you start doubting you is when that anxiety will come up. But if you can just trust without seeing it, to have that faith, you're always going to feel better. You're always going to feel more grounded. But don't overthink things you can't control. But outside of that, do what's best for you and just try your best. That's all I got.
I love that. That is a wonderful message. I thank you so much for being on this podcast. I know that people who are going to listen to this are going to get so much from it. Just like your recommendation is just, these are things that don't seem too far out of reach for people, right? You made it sound, I don't want to say easy, but accessible, right? Like, I feel like I can get off of this call and I can go and do these things. That's important. Yes, I love it. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to put all of your information in the show notes so that people can sign up for the retreat, get mentorship if they feel led, and just follow you.
I appreciate y'all.
On
Thank you
social
so
media
much for
where
having
you
me on.
are.
This was a beautiful experience. I appreciate it.